Hello there, back on the Good Enough Mum page, and I'm talking about Father's Day and the second part of dealing with difficult dads. So I spoke yesterday about the need to recognise how hurt we can be, and how we need to be kind to ourselves, and how we might make decisions about how we want to be with our father, and the ways in which we want to respond to him. And I'm also today sharing another little blog that I picked up that I think will be really helpful to people as well. And the first thing it talks about is recognising that when someone is difficult, it's actually not our fault. It's so easy, I think, as a child and then as a grown-up. We haven't got the knowledge when we're a child to know that when we get into trouble, that sometimes it isn't actually our fault, that we haven't done anything wrong. And especially when we're dealing with a very critical parent, I think it's really important to remember that that is about their stuff. It's not our stuff. That as children, we're not perfect. We're children, we're going to make mistakes, we're going to do silly things, we're going to be too loud, we're going to be too noisy, we're not going to be able to make good decisions sometimes because we're children and we need our parents there to help us and to encourage us. But for whatever reason, sometimes parents aren't able to do that for us. But we grow up having sort of brought into ourselves their criticism. I can't remember what the word is. And so what we do is we turn their criticism into self-criticism, and that can perpetuate the difficulty of the relationship, because whenever we hear them being critical of us, we tend to get quite defensive and we might keep them at arm's length. And often it's not because we've done something wrong, it's because they are suffering in some way, and it's really difficult to see that when they come across in a way that's very critical of us. But that criticism is normally based in fear, and it's about them. It's not about us. And it's really important to try to begin to make divisions between what's our stuff and what we think about ourselves, how much we're looking for that to be confirmed, and whether or not the person who is becoming very critical of us, is that deserved? And it's probably not, because you are allowed to make mistakes. You're human. And if they are being very critical, what is that about? What is really going on for them? And I'm going to relate an incident that happened to me when I realised that this was what was going on in my life with, it wasn't my dad, it was with my mum, when once she phoned up and told me off because my children always got Easter eggs, lots and lots of Easter eggs, she said. And I couldn't really work out what was going on. And then afterwards, when I thought about the conversation, I realised that actually what it was she was feeling worried because she hadn't bought them Easter eggs, and it came out as criticism. And actually it wasn't anything to do with me or how many Easter eggs my children had. It was to do with her feeling that she wasn't good enough, and that it was very difficult for her to get Easter eggs to me because I lived sort of 300 or 400 miles away from her. And so it was actually her fear and her worry, but it came out as an attack on me. And I'm just telling that little story in order to illustrate what can go on in relationships, is that often people's self-criticism, actually, because they can't face it themselves, they take it out on someone else. And that's not to say that it's right, because it's not right. It's not helpful, and it's not the best way to build a healthy relationship. But our parents are humans too, and they've dealt with all the difficulties that they've had in their lives, and they're not always able to be as parental as we would like them to be. And so it's really, really important to remember that if someone is engaged in some sort of toxic relationship with you, that sometimes the stuff that they're saying is actually about them. It's not about you. And you don't need to take it personally. You can just see that it's some sort of problem that they've got. And if you can begin to empathise with what might be going on beneath that criticism, then that makes it a whole lot easier, and it gives you a better way of being able to respond to them, because you don't feel as defensive. You're able to to answer them from a place that doesn't need to be defended, because there's nothing to defend. You're fine, you're okay. And that can really help with dealing with these toxic relationships. But of course, that's not, Rome wasn't built in a day, and that sort of stuff takes time to develop. And so the blog that I'm sharing today also has some practical things to help you if you are seeing your father on Father's Day. So, to prepare yourself mentally and emotionally. And I particularly like the section where it's said to make sure you have an exit strategy. So if you know that you can only do so much, then make sure you've got a reason to leave. That's a plausible reason, so that you can finish when you're ready to finish. And also there was another little part that I liked, which was you can still send your parent good wishes even if you're not in contact with them. And this can be difficult if you're feeling very hurt by them, but there's something about wishing them well that can be really releasing for us as people. So do take a look at the blog, and if you found this talk helpful, I'd love it if you could like it and share it so that other people can see it too. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow. Okay, bye.